Welcome to the second episode of the Root of Everything podcast. And before we kind of get into it, how these episodes will work, especially the second episode from the first one, it will be kind of together. So this episode kind of goes off of the last one in more of a psychological way, maybe in a different way, but it's kind of connected to the last episode. So with every episode, they're kind of in pairs, and this was in pairs with the last one. And then last time we talked about being different, your biggest advantage, and basically living a life that is committed to finding your passion and living through that. And so there are times in our lives where people don't want you to do that. There are different reasons why people might do that, but when it all comes down to it, they're just scared, and they're for two different reasons. So we'll get into that right after this. Let's go.
Friends turn enemies, lovers turned into flings. As I grow older, I'm cutting off these loose strings and moving on to better things, hoping it'll better me. Some things you just know, and some things I never seen. Some peasants will get crowned, some kings won't ever be. Evidently, I'ma shine inevitably. It ain't a young out that's better than me, and when they say they go hard, I laugh hysterically.
There are two reasons why somebody might be afraid or doesn't want you to pursue a life of passion, to do something totally different from the norms of the world. And that's okay. Well, at least the first one is. So the first one, I'm not going to put too much time on it because you're going to run into a lot, but it's easy to recognize. But the first one is because they're regular people and they're realistic. Most people look at things and say, okay, what are the chances I can do that? What are the chances you can do that? A lot of us, if you do take on this life of wanting to live it through passion, you might hit a time in your life when somebody, maybe a parent, maybe somebody who loves you a lot says, Jamar, I don't think that's realistic. I don't think that's what's best for you. I'm kind of uncomfortable with it. They may say that to you because they want the best for you. They want you to live a life that you deserve. They love you. But you have to understand that only you can know what's best for you. And while they might have your best interests at heart, they may not know what that is for you. And that's completely fine. And there's no hate to give them for not really knowing what you have. And you understand, hopefully, that if you find your passion and if you live a life through passion, your potential is infinite and they have nothing to worry about. But they will soon realize that. In fact, I just got off the phone. It was funny with my sister, Ayana Root. I just put her whole name out there. But but I just had a conversation with her literally right before this, and I knew I had to add this in. But we're so different. If you ever knew me and my sister, like if you ever knew our relationship, we're totally different, and that caused for a lot of conflict growing up. But it makes our relationship beautiful, in my opinion. But we're so different because she has a totally different perspective on life. When it comes to her, you can kind of see the perspective when it comes to how we went to college. I decided to go to Philadelphia, far from Dallas, Texas. She went to a school called PV-A&M, just outside of Houston, so a little closer to home. She studies nursing. I just study sports management. So you can kind of see I took a big risk. I decided to study in something sports management, and I went to Philadelphia, and she goes to Houston. So in her life, she's more, and we were just on the phone, and she was like, Jamar, I need that assurance. I need to know I'm on the right path. I'm not really comfortable with taking risk, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I realize sometimes I'm like, man, why don't people think like this? But it's okay to not want to take risks. It's okay to want to live a life where there's assurance to everything. But if you're listening, I want to encourage you to live a life of willingness to take risks because, like I said, you have infinite potential in your passion and you will hit a peak of happiness. But understand there's people out there that love you and want the best for you. They're just realistic people, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you also have to understand that you have to be realistic with yourself and your happiness. But now I'm going to get into the real one I really want to spend the time on, and that's people and their power and people who want power. Those are the people who don't want you to really pursue into your life of happiness. So when people hate on you, it's not because they're in disbelief, but it's because they fear you will become exactly what you said you would be and more. And the sad thing is, it works. The hate works. We let people tell us that they hate what we do or hate our potential or whatever it is. And in reality, they're the ones who really believe in us the most because they're scared enough to do something about it. And it really shows that it works in the world because if you really look at it, the 1%ers control everything. The 1%ers have, I think I heard a quote where it said 1% of the world's wealth is equal to 99% of the world's wealth. So that goes to show there's so many selfish people out here that are trying to depress your potential, even though they know that you have it. And it won't work in the end. I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that there's selfishness of power and all of that. In the end, it won't work because we're going to come together and we're going to fight it. And there's two types of bosses in this world. There's two types of people who make it to the top. When I say bosses, people who make it to the top. There's the one guy who puts everybody down to get to the top. And he doesn't help anybody to get there. So he gets there, but he put everybody down to get to the top. And then there's somebody else who gets to the top. There's somebody who's helping everybody along the way, putting people he knows are great around him, not letting their success kind of make their success a shadow. They don't care. They're bringing everybody together. And through that, and through seeing people doing their thing and people being happy, it motivates them every single day. And then they get to come together and he gets to the top because he did it through love. And that's what we have to do. There's going to be so many bosses in this world that put people down, put us down because they were selfish for all the power. But when we come together and we help each other along the way and allow that to motivate us, we're going to rise to the top. And if everybody unlocks their potential, everybody finds that thing that they love, and they're in that spot where everybody loves, then everything in the world will be perfect because everybody in the world will be doing what they love and everything will be better and power will be distributed around the world perfectly, and it will take the power right off the people and the bosses who push everybody down to get there. And that's why it won't make it in the end, because if I can push this message of people being themselves and doing what they loved, the power will go away. Everybody will have it because they have it inside of them, and they have it in every single sector of the world because they're doing what they love, and it's at the best of their ability, and they will do it the right way because they actually love what they're doing, not just for power. So with that, we're going to get into why society's structure and why they do everything to suppress your potential on a bigger level. So we just talked about it. 1%ers make up 99% of all the wealth in the world. So what does that mean? Come on, process that. What does that mean? That means they hold all the power, at least when it comes to money. So if they hold all the power, what does that mean? They get to create the structure. If they get to create the structure, they get to do what they want with how we get to live our lives, at least in the beginning part. And so if they have that type of structure and it's made with them, they're the ones who make it, and they make it for us, and they don't even really know who we are. That means the structure isn't made for you. Well, actually, I will say the structure is made for you. It's made for you to be average. Because as we just talked about, the people in power are afraid of all of our potential. They don't want us to become what we know we can become when we find our passion. And so if that's the case, everything when it comes to structure is going to be made to decrease your potential so you don't find your passion. I got a clear example for this one. We all went to school, or at least hopefully, we all went to school, and we had to learn this and learn that, learn what they told us to learn. And if we learned what they told us to learn, we weren't learning what we wanted to learn. And what we also learned was discipline and obedience to power. We had to turn in our homework assignment on time. We had to turn it in when they said we had to turn it in. We had to do everything around what the power said. And we learned that in our minds. And it became what we do. We learned to be obedient to power, but not obedient to ourselves. You see, we couldn't take a class in whatever we wanted in school. If I wanted to become a basketball player at 10, I couldn't say I only want to take basketball classes. I couldn't do that. And it taught us in school that we have to do what they say. We can't do what we want. We can't prioritize our well-being. We can't prioritize the way we want to live our lives. So what we have to understand is if the structure is made by them, the structure is made for us to not reach our potential, and the structure is made for us to be controlled, then for us to be successful and for us to reach our infinite potential, which it is, we all have it, we can't do what the structure says. We have to go against the grain. We have to do something different. Now, I'm not saying for all of us to quit school and to not do anything structure says, because some structure is good. But we have to know that the structure isn't made for us, and we have to know if we want to make it to our infinite potential, along the way, we're going to have to come across into our own lane. We can't keep going in the lane that everybody else says, because we're just going to become what everybody else is. If you want to become great, if you want to become a legend, if you want to become whatever you want to be, you have to start doing things differently. You have to start doing things your own way, because the only way to make a path for your greatness is to make a path for yourself. And understand that if you're doing things the way structure is, which was made by somebody that's not you, then you got to understand that you're taking a lane of of average. You're taking the lane of being an average person. And I don't think anybody here wants to be an average person. Some people do. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to be somebody that's not average, you want to go against the grain, you have to do this. So that's all I really got for y'all on this one. But now I'm going to go kind of into another branch when it comes to this podcast. Stay tuned. So in last segment, we kind of talked about how society has a structure made by people in power so that we don't take their power. And we kind of have to go against the grain, go against their structure to not be average. And I kind of at the end displayed a way we can kind of change that power and to take the power back through people actually doing what they love to do and not going within the structure made by them. And what that special thing we can do to make change is this special type of power. It's called influence. And influence is a special type of power because it can move around like a disease. So say let's think of it this way. Like COVID-19, if I go to a party, I have a lot of influence. I can get to a lot of people and it can spread easily within a lot of people at a party. But at the same time, if I just meet with one person and I have COVID-19 and I talk to them and they get COVID and they go to somebody else and somebody else, that can also spread. It can be a chain reaction. So just like COVID-19 and how it could go to a party or you could just be one-on-one, it can change the world. And so just like COVID-19, influence can do the same thing. And it doesn't matter if you're a person with a lot of friends or just one-on-one, it can change the world. But it can also change for the extreme good or the extreme evil. And this happened in a lot of cases in different people's lives. For example, school has a lot of influence. Everybody has to go to school. So if I go to school, for example, me as a black male, and I only see my depiction as one way, and I only get to learn about slavery in school, what do you think I will go out in life and think my potential is? You see, that influence can be heavy on a whole group of people. While I've learned throughout my life that that's not the only way I've been depicted in my life when it comes to how I look. There are people who look like me and have been kings, have been great people who have started civilization. That has also had a great influence on me because somebody one-on-one told me about my true history. You see, influence can influence you in different ways. It may be through a party like COVID-19 or through in school where everybody is, or it can be one-on-one with a father or with somebody, a friend that teaches you something that can influence you to go in totally two different trajectories. And me learning about myself in more than just a negative manner, in a positive manner, it helped me to realize that I can be whatever I want to be. And that's why influence has to be diverse. It can't just be this way when it comes to this type of person, or only people like this can have influence because it can dictate people in a weird way because it has such a great effect on us. It had such a great effect on me. Influence. And so what I mean by that is, particularly when it comes to people who look like me, it has to also be positive. A lot of times in our lives, especially as black males or black people, we have negative images of ourselves. And you can even look at it in music. Sometimes they only let us hear music that is negative to our own self. But if we can make things that are also positive to ourselves and diversify what the influence is around the world, we can make change. So if we can decide to live life in a passionate way and decide to love what we do, we can influence others. It may be on a one-on-one level, but that can have a chain reaction on everybody to when they live their life. So for me, all this is me trying to influence y'all. It can be one person on the other side of this camera and I convince them to live in their passion, then boom, maybe somebody else and maybe somebody else. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to influence y'all to be the best y'all can be. And understand that you just telling one person about this video could have a chain reaction. So I really appreciate y'all for everything, and everything I've ever done is to influence y'all to be the best y'all can be. So that's the end of Root of Everything, the second episode, and I just want to say again, thank all of y'all for tuning in. It means a lot, and try to influence somebody today positively. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and if you liked any part of the video, please hit the like button, comment what you think, and subscribe for more Root of Everything. And hit the little bell on the side so you can have updates every single time we drop. And if you really enjoyed what we have cooking up, please go down to the website link below called therootofeverything.com, and you can hit a little button on our website to subscribe to our weekly newsletter in your email. So catch you next time.